Hello and welcome, genties and Lilliman. It is in fact your boy, Sir Egward, for episode 28 of Cracking the Shell because I got it wrong in the last one because I am intellectual. But today I am joined by a very, very busy man with Lev from Hard Stare, Lesser Beings, and No Known Weakness. How's it going, sir?
Aye, good, well remembered. And I don't know how many seconds we are in, but I imagine anybody who was listening to you so far has just switched off as soon as they've heard this accent. I know that it's pretty brutal. So cheers for anybody who hangs in there and puts up with my marble mouth. Although you did have Chris Ryan on already. I'm better than him. I'm more legible
That
than
is
Chris
very
Ryan.
true. That is
Said with
very
a lot
true.
of love.
We
Me and
do.
Chris
We
are good
love
pals,
Chris
so I can
Ryan
say
in this house.
that.
We love Chris Ryan, but yeah, but we love him. We love him.
Aye. I
Absolute
usually I
class man.
usually want to do a podcast in it, but I saw that you'd done Chris and I thought, well, I like fucking I can't be any worse than him. Like he because we organise those grind down day shows together. So
Aye.
every now and again he leaves me like we message each other ideas for bands and all that and who's going to play and this is what I've heard for this band and whatever. And every now and again I get a voice note from him while he's driving. I get a voice note from him and like so he's concentrating and he's talking at the same time and it's just like the fucking teacher for Charlie Brown man is like I'm just pure I'm sitting like I don't want to ask him to type it all out, so I just like I need to sit for 45 minutes, just try to transcribe whatever
Aye,
he's
you're
saying.
deciphering the code, eh?
Aye, aye,
That man, he's one of the most hardworking men that I've ever met, to be honest. He doesn't fucking
absolutely.
stop.
You call me busy, but honestly, it's nothing compared to the work ethic of that boy.
That's why he's been to America, he's been to Europe, he's been to fucking Asia, which is fucking insane. Seeing a lot of Scottish bands kind of touring that country, aside from Party Cannon, Endless Swarm were just recently over there. They got
Hmm.
back from a tour in Japan.
Yep,
I think Demonstration of Power as well went there. I think they went to Tokyo, or I think
yep.
somewhere down in like Vietnam or Thailand or something. I'm
Aye,
sure I saw that.
they did Japan and other areas of Asia that I don't remember. Aye, but an Endless Swarm. So Gerald, who played guitar for Hardstare for a couple of months there before he went away, he
Aye.
played second guitar for us. He is moving to New Zealand, but when he left Glasgow, he flew with Endless Swarm to Japan and went with Endless Swarm on their Japanese tour. So he was there for the whole thing. So I know the guys in Endless Swarm, and I know Gerald as well, and I love Japan. And I went to Japan. I've been to Japan twice, but I went at the start of last year, and it was amazing. And I've just been getting so much Japan envy watching all their Instagram stories and everything. I would
Oh
love to
yeah.
go play Japan.
I would go and visit Japan for sure. It's something that's so wildly different, but at the same time, it feels kind of natural, but it's so insanely different the way that they do stuff. And I've heard a lot of stories from just people that I've spoke to over the years that it's apparently a very weird vibe because they're very quiet in between songs, but then
Aye,
they're going mental when you're playing. But then when you're not playing, it's like
totally.
dead quiet and
Yep.
would be
So
terrifying, eh?
I went, the first time I went to Japan was with my wife. The second time was not with my wife because she realised after going to Japan with me once, she never wanted to go through that again. I took her to see Vader. Vader played in Tokyo when I was there, and it was crazy because there was like guys stage diving and really just going for it, going nuts. And then between like even the band commented on it, and I'm sure they've played Japan before, but must still be weird for them. Like between the songs, they're like, "Oh, have we done something wrong? Have we like
Aye.
why is it so quiet?" It's like and like even like I'm clapping and nobody else is really clapping or cheering at it, and it's totally different. And like people, the thing that struck me the most in Japan is you can be at traffic lights with no traffic coming at either side of the road, and there'll be like 15, 20 people just standing at the side of the road, just waiting for those lights to change so that they can walk. And me, obviously, I'm a back a gaijin, as they say, just an idiot foreigner. And I'm like, I cannot wait for this. I go and so I did that a few times, just crossing the road in front of all the polite Japanese people. And I've never felt so evil just doing something
You just feel
so
everybody
normal.
staring at
Aye.
you, just
Aye.
staring at you, really judging you.
Aye, and the second time I went to Japan, I went with my pal Gary, and we were just talking as we were on the train, and then just realised, oh, nobody else on this train's talking. Like we are booming across this whole train. Our voices are big, daft Glaswegian voices are just booming across the whole train, and uh, and everybody must just be thinking these fucking idiot foreigners. I wish they'd shut up.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be a nice change of pace from being on any kind of Glasgow train to any station like late at night because you can't hear yourself think. At least I can. Whenever
Aye,
I'm heading home from a gig at night, especially if it's a Friday or a Saturday, oh my God, you can't hear yourself think. It is the worst. Because my
aye,
heat's
I
already
know.
bursting from hours of angry monster noises and fight riffs, and then I get in this train and it's just complete fucking garbled nonsense. And I'm hearing
Aye,
15 people's conversations like, no, Brenda, I don't care that like Barry's cheated on your sister. I don't care. You know what I mean? Shut up.
aye.
Get
I'm
earphones.
very fortunate. I don't drink, and I do drive. So whenever, like, I've not had to get public transport locally for quite a long time. But I remember it being brutal back in the day. Um, like the arguments you would get into with people on the bus. Used to have long hair. Remember being called Bon Jovi on the bus one time because I had long hair.
That's funny.
uh, it's good, aye. But again, when you're on the bus at 4 in the morning, you just can't be bothered, can you?
No. I'm not a morning guy. I found it somewhere online somewhere. It's like I'm not an early bird. I'm not a night owl. I'm a permanently exhausted pigeon, and that has never summed me up more, to be entirely honest with you. But complete fucking rambling aside, what I usually like to do in these is before we talk about everything that you're doing now, and you're doing a lot of shit now, we like to just find out how we got here, kind of growing up, finding music, finding metal, because everybody's got a different story with how they get into what is very a niche kind of style. It's not something that you just kind of randomly happen upon unless you've got people that are already into it near you, which
Aye.
in saying that, I never really had that, but we'll get into that in a second. We're here to hear your story. So just growing up,
Well,
finding
actually,
music,
no.
finding
Before we get
metal.
into my story, actually, I've watched a few of these, right?
Mhm.
And I need to know. This is probably going to be a dead born answer, right? Sir Edward, right? Is it just so when you message me, when you DM me, organise this, your name's no
Mhm.
Edward, and your name does not suggest anything egg or yolk related, right? So we're cracking the shell here, right?
Yeah,
Like, is that just are you just bald? Aye, is it
yeah.
just egg and then
That's it.
Eggward became
That
a
is
name?
the
Right, okay.
entire basis of the joke is that I'm bald, and I thought Sir Edward, Sir Edward, and then cracking the shell. It's obviously a pun
Aye,
because
aye,
I'm
aye,
bald and
okay.
eggs, but
Aye,
also it's kind of I like to get to know the people in these bands and that are playing all these cool shows and stuff, and also people like promoters or photographers or anybody else that I have on. It's cracking that shell of what they are to everybody else and get to know them as a person. So it's a
aye.
kind of a more kind of hippie spiritual meaning, but the overall kind of boiling point answer is it's literally just because I'm bald. That's
Aye. No, I did wonder, because you're always wearing a hat for what I see, so I did wonder, is he just bald, is that it? Or does he
that's it.
just pure love eggs or something? Is there some sort of deep lore behind this?
The deep lore
Eh,
with eggs. I
ah,
mean, I do love a fried egg, but I'm not constantly, just cracking raw eggs into my mouth like some fucking madman. Just sat at 5 a.m. in the morning cracking eggs into my mouth in the shower. Probably very sad. No,
well,
there's no deep lore there. It's just I'm bald. Sorry
don't knock
to
it till you've
dispel
tried
the
it.
answer. Sorry
Aye,
to dispel the lore to anyone. I know all the fanfics are very upset, but it's literally just because I'm bald. That's it.
well. Right, aye, sorry, that was me interrupting you there.
That's all
I'll
right.
do
That's all
that.
right. That's all right. But yeah, just the kind of the origin story type shit, if you will. Growing up, finding metal, first bands, everything before what you're doing now. That kind of
Do you
thing.
know, it's so deep in the murky depths of the distant past that I don't entirely remember, but growing up, I don't remember anybody that I knew really being seriously into any kind of music. Even in my school, I don't remember anybody being into it. There was like one guy who liked Matchbox 20 or something that
Mhm.
that I knew in school. And I wasn't really interested in music or anything, to be honest, up until so it's a bit weird. I used to play this play by mail wrestling game, the Imaginary
Mhm.
Wrestling Association. I was part of it, like play by actual physical mail. Like this is how far back this was. You may have heard of eFeds or whatever, where people play on fantasy wrestling online.
Aye.
This is like the precursor to this is play by mail wrestling games, and that was it was me. I played that, but most people who played it were in America, so these letters were coming from America, and other people I played with were American. In fact, do you know, name drop here, do you know Horse the band?
I think
No.
so. Probably
So
there's that many I'd never fucking
uh,
keep track of. Eh?
their keyboard player also played this game at the same time that I did. So I know that impressive if you don't know who they are. I don't really know them either, but I found out that this guy was in that band. I was like, all right, that's interesting. I remember him for playing that game. So I used to play this game with all these Americans, and then would write. You could write to each other through the game, and just kind of it was like making pen pals.
Aye.
And they like loads of them were into like rap and like at the time new metal and stuff like that. There was a lot of Deftones fans I remember. Um, and I was like, I don't really, I don't really know much of music. I don't really listen to music, but they would recommend stuff for me. Uh, and actually, rap was kind of the first music that I really loved, like rap in the 90s sort of thing. And then they were throwing at me like, as I said, Deftones and stuff like that, and I was like, aye, okay, it's all right, it's fine, and I kind of get into that for a bit. Um, but I never loved it. I was just like, aye, this is better than anything else that I can hear. But then, so I was in school, and there was a guy I sat next to in school, and he was clearing out a loft, and he came in and he said, "Oh, we're clearing out a loft, and we found this CD. It must have been the person that lived here before us. It's the kind of music that you like." And it was an Annihilator CD, and I'd never heard Annihilator before in my life. And I'd never really heard. I mean, I was aware of Metallica, like that kind of thrash, but I'd never heard
Mhm.
uh, like Annihilator. So you give me this CD, I went up the road and listened to it, and I went, "This is mental. I really like this. This is class." So my that was my entryway into sort of thrash, and then I get into Sepultura, and then Sepultura were like, uh, Sepultura always talked about Biohazard and talked about Cro-Mags, so I got into hardcore that way, and then the first Sepultura album with Derek on vocals, they covered Bad Brains. So I like Sepultura were like a gateway for me into hardcore, and then I just naturally through being into thrash also got into death metal, and
Mhm.
before you know it, I'm all over the place.
Aye.
But I didn't really know anybody growing up who liked the same stuff as me. I did eventually. So there was like maybe there was like another couple of guys in school who kind of got into the same stuff as me around the same time as me, and
Mhm.
then we went to the Cat House Hunters. We were teenagers at the time, and that blew my mind to be like, I don't believe there's this many other people who like this stuff that I like, and don't just like dance music and football. And that was like sort of my way into all right. There's a community of people here. There's like a metal community, a hardcore. There's an alternative community, I feel like, and this feels. I went to school in Clydebank for however long, and never had the same interests as anybody else. So for me, I was like, oh, like right, this is my people. I never knew these people existed, but this is cool. And turns out this stuff that I like is actually massive, and loads of other people like it. But I never knew that. And then like I just kind of kicked about in the metal and hardcore and punk scenes and whatever ever since. It turns out no, all these people are my people. In fact, very few of them actually are. But when you're young and you don't know any better, you think, oh,
Aye,
like, you know what,
exactly.
these
Aye,
these people are
everybody's cool, and
decent.
then you find out when you grow up that everybody's no cool.
I totally. Uh,
Yeah, completely get that. So at what point from hearing all this music did you decide, I actually want to do it? I want to actually make some of this stuff.
so I remember going to see Medulla Nocte, who were like an English, I suppose you would say, hardcore band. And they were playing at the Cat House with a local band called Coexist to support. And I've never really knew much about the local scene at that point. This was the first time I'd seen a local band, I guess. It's Medulla
Mhm.
Nocte, and then there was a support band, Coexist. And I went with my girlfriend at the time, and she was like, "Oh, the bass player. I think it was the bass player for Coexist at this point in time. He's my he's my stand-in physics teacher or something. Like he was like a stand-in teacher at her school.
Aye, yeah.
Um, and I was like, all right, that's mental. People who play in bands are just
Normal
people.
people. Yeah.
Aye, aye.
That's the
And I was
biggest
like,
revelation, isn't it?
aye, totally. Aye, like, oh wait, even at like, I mean, so at this point, I was also at school and I did not get along with my teachers at all. And I was like, which is my like, and I hated teachers for a long time. So it's funny that this teacher, I actually don't know who that was. It's probably somebody I know now, whoever played bass and coexist at that point. I should probably find that out. But whoever that was, it's funny because I hated teachers, and that that guy inspired me to be like, oh, people can do this. I'm going to do that. And also, I'm new. My wife is a teacher, so I learned
Well,
that
there you
teachers
go.
teachers are not all bad, but for me, in school they were.
There's
Aye.
It's the same thing with anybody. You get some teachers that are class, but then you get some teachers that are just fucking
Fucking
awful. I
dick.
know I definitely had that, but I
Aye,
had some really lovely teachers that I do sometimes think, I wonder how they're doing. I do sometimes
aye,
wonder that. But yeah, for the most part, I hated school as well.
aye, aye.
I did not get along in school.
Nah, but so I that coexist. Where like as I said, and then like going to shows enough, you get to know them. You know the
Mhm.
people in the band, and you get to know people in other bands, and you're like, well, I can do this, and then you start a band with your pals, and it's quite shite, but you gradually get better, and then the people who are super shite and fall away for that band go away, but then there's other bands who also have members who are super shite and fall away, and then the good ones kick about, start bands together. Eventually, things get a bit better, and before you know it, you're in you're in three bands that you love being in.
There you go. There you go. So I didn't have a lot of time to kind of research the individual backstories of everybody. So what one out of the three came first?
Three bands that I'm in just now.
Yeah.
So Hardstare, definitely. Hardstare. Well, for me, it was Hardstare. Lesser Beings might have been starting in the background without me. Now I think about it, and I don't know that. But Hardstare definitely for me, because Hardstare is was originally me on vocals. I'd previously been in a band called Kingpin for 7 or 8 years or something before
Mhm.
lockdowns. Uh, Me on vocals, uh, Billy for Disposable on bass, Chris for Tempered on guitar, and George for Gendo Akari on the drums. And it was just, I was in a group chat with Chris and Billy, and they were just sort of like, oh, we've got these sort of left our riffs, um, and just some ideas that don't quite fit with our bands. And it was lockdown, and it was just kind of like, let's chuck them all together and just put something out for the hell of it. So and then I got George involved, and George was originally just going to record the demo and then bow out, but he quite enjoyed it, so he hung about for a while until recently. He injured his leg, and then we got Ewan Finnick with the Savagery to fill in on drums live, and George now is healed up and is actually he's just recorded drums for new Hardstyle material, so he still weighs in a recording capacity,
Mhm.
but Ewan is going to play the majority of the gigs live. Uh, when Hardstyle first started, it was just sort of like a lockdown fuckabout, and then there was a label, Nuclear Family Records in Wales, because they had knew me for Kingpin. They heard this stuff and they were like, okay, right, we'll put out that as a tape. We'll put out that Hardstyle stuff as a tape. And then I booked a show uh, the first year that I could after lockdowns, I think maybe December 2021. Um, and Hardstyle played it. And then before I knew it, we were just like kind of like an actual band. We're still no really like a real band, to be honest. We don't really rehearse or anything. We just kind of write tunes and share them a bit online. So Chris isn't in the band anymore. It's now Liam for Fatal Collision who plays guitar. And like I said, Gerald for Gendo Akari was playing second guitar for us for a few months there, just because he's really good and just learned how to play guitar and was up for it. But aye, that's the Hardstyle story basically. So that's the first band. Aye.
That's Hardstare, yeah. So what's new? What's coming up for Hardstare? I know that you've got the Thrash and Half gig in Glasgow in December with
Yep.
our lovely boys in Tempered, Fatal Collision. I think Charlie's Innards, is that what they're called? It's Charlie something, I can't
Charlie
remember.
Tangos.
Charlie Tangos, that's the one.
Aye.
So that's going to be a ripper. I'll hopefully make it out for that. It's just like with work, it can be a pain in the arse.
Aye.
But if I can make it, I'll fucking make it because class bands, class venue. I really like the Flying Duck. It's a great venue.
Aye. It's brilliant. And I can confirm that it's going to be a good night because we already did it in Edinburgh a few
Yeah.
months back, pretty much the exact same lineup. Played it and it was really, really good. It was a class show. So looking forward to that. In fact, could I use this early opportunity to plug a few shows that are coming up? Is that all right?
Aye, go ahead.
I don't
That's
want
what
to.
this is all about.
So there's that, which is December 14th, I think, in Flying
Mhm.
Duck. No Known Weakness, which is the metallic hardcore band that I'm in, the newest band. We are playing our first show with Born for Pain, who are like a metallic hardcore band for Belgium, who were about years ago and have just come back and they're playing Glasgow on the 14th of November. I think that's our first show there, and then the
Mhm.
day after that is the next Lesser Beans show. We're playing with a Bristol grind band, which well, I think their name's pronounced Atomsk, or maybe Atomsuck, but I think it's Atomsk. Uh, so that's in block, and that's free entry. So
No excuse,
everybody come
lads.
down.
If you can
Aye,
make
aye,
it, go.
totally.
If you can make it, go. That sounds incredible. And all three bands, while they are kind of in the same kind of hardcore leaning style genre, all of them are very different. And that's something that I'd imagine that you would have considered as well before joining all of them. Because if you're playing three of the same shit, you just get bored immediately. At least I would. But all of them
Definitely.
are very different. Like I was listening to the new Lesser Beings EP, which I will have linked down below. I'll have everything linked down below, everything ever. But the new Lesser Beings EP, it is class. It reminds me a wee bit of kind of like early oh God, what's the name? It's kind of like reminds me of every time I die in a way, where it's
Oh,
kind of
really?
it gives me that kind of vibe musically. It's got that
Aye,
really kind of punky hardcore vibe, but you've got
aye,
those
aye,
wee like panic chords, but still a lot of groove in there,
aye.
as well as the vocal delivery. It's fucking class. It's a genuine
Thanks.
banger EP.
Oh, cheers.
It's making it on my end of year list, which I will definitely do. I'll do a solo episode where I
Amazing.
just go through all the shit that I've loved this year, which it's a big list. I have that journals app on my phone. I have two separate lists, one for albums, one for EPs, which I
Yeah.
actually need to make sure that that Lesser Beings EP is on there, but it's fucking brilliant. So
Thanks very
that's came out
much.
earlier this year. That's
Aye,
brilliant. Um, No Known Weakness. I know you're just kind of starting that up. Got that
aye.
first couple of shows going. Is there any kind of material in the works, or are we going to do just like covers or
Hunters. So I actually
hunters?
can't believe how much. So we've had like 8 or 9 rehearsals across the span of a few months,
Hmm.
and so No Known Weakness. The members of that is myself again, obviously. Dave and Alex, who played drums and bass and By My Hands back in the day. Alex used to play bass and By My Hands, but plays guitar in No Known Weakness. Scott Deacon, who also plays guitar, and he was in Pay the Price and Burning Scars of Betrayal. And Callum playing the bass, and he played bass for Burning Scars of Betrayal at their last reunion show. So it's another great lineup. Like I'm very lucky to know so many people who are really good at music who want to date with me, and Deacon already had a bunch of tunes written before the first rehearsal, and we all just sort of listened to his demos and just went in and just woof, like couldn't believe how quickly the songs came together and was just sort of iterating on them week by week and maybe every now and again going, oh, here's a new tune. Alex is actually really good at coming up with new stuff as well. Sometimes Dave, so Alex and Dave have been pals forever. They do everything together. Obviously, they were in By My Hands together, and they make like techno music together, and they just do everything together, go on holiday together and all that. So sometimes uh, Dave will go up Alex's house or vice versa, and in the group chat will just like be pinging all night with them, getting steam and coming up with ideas for riffs and send them into the chat, and then we go into the rehearsal and flesh them out. No Known Weakness is the only band I'm in that actually does rehearse regularly, like a normal band. So it's amazing, like just having talented people who know what they want to do going in, and it really, honestly, like so we've got like a solid, I think, 5 tunes and a cover for the first show definitely, but we've got another 2 tunes that I need to write vocal. The hardest thing about being in 3 bands is fucking writing lyrics all the time, man. I just run out of things to talk about. How many times can I just be like, oh, I fucking hate organised religion before I go, right, everybody's fed up hearing about that, try and think of something else.
What else can we
But
hate?
aye,
What else can we hate? You know, hate the
aye,
government, hate pedos, hate
aye,
fucking I don't know.
totally, aye.
I hate
So
myself. There we go. Can hate
aye, and
myself.
you read back your own words so much as well. You're just like, man, I'm a fucking corny bastard. But you then see when you first write lyrics, you're like, I hate this, but I'm just going to stick with the new, and then I'll come up with something better. Sometimes you do come up with something better. Sometimes you just go away for it, and then you come back to it a few weeks later, and you go, actually, no, it's fine. You know, it's just overthinking it at that point. But yeah, aye, so we've got a good set for this first show, and we're just sort of we've actually got a rehearsal tonight. So we're going to drill that down, and then we don't have a rehearsal next week because we're starting to plan things for recording, and then we've got a rehearsal like the day before the show or something. So we're starting to really get down to the let's figure out the set and get it tight for the first show just now. But it should be a good 5 songs and a cover, I think.
any kind of direction where the cover's going, or is that cover still being kind of decided?
The cover is how can I not remember it? Shattered Realm, All Will Suffer. The thing is, see when I, if you move in metallic hardcore circles, you have heard this song covered 6,000 times. And when it was first suggested by everybody else in the band, oh, we should cover All Will Suffer. I'm like, aye, cool. But see, between us learning that and us playing it for the first time, three other bands are going to play it. So it's going to be like, all right, you're doing that again. And sure enough, there's a local band called Bathed in Sin, and they covered All Will Suffer and did a fucking cracking job of it a few weeks back at the Audio Lounge. So, aye, we're not going to blow anybody's mind with this original idea for a cover we've come out with, but it is a good song to cover. If people who like this song fucking love this song, and we'll go mental for it. Hopefully,
I'm gonna make a note of that. What was it called? Hold on, I need to get my
All Will Suffer by Shattered Realm.
All Will Suffer, Shattered Realm.
Aye,
Brilliant. Because I'm always on the look for because I like both metal and hardcore. And
same.
obviously I like all the kind of metalcore bands, but metalcore I think has changed a lot from stuff like Killswitch Engage and Hatebreed and Earth Crisis and all that stuff. And now you've got bands like Polaris and like all the other bands like that, which I still love, don't get me wrong, but
hmm
I need more bands that are in that kind of realm of like your early Killswitch, your Hatebreed, early
Aye,
Ghost Inside as well, that kind of thing.
aye.
So stuff like that.
Shattered Realm, I suppose, may be closer to Earth Crisis, closer to Earth Crisis meets Hatebreed, all the things she mentioned. It's
Aye.
just Shard Realms like like chunky breakdowns with slow Slayer leads, like like the
Aye, those kind of
harmonies.
really creepy kind
Aye,
of little yeah,
aye,
that kind of thing.
aye, exactly that. Aye, so that's Shattered Realm. But it's just dumb, man. It's just dumb guerrilla music.
That's what I
To
love.
go mental to. Aye,
I
so
love my dumb gorilla music. I'm a big
aye,
slam guy. I'm a big old school death metal guy. I'll freely admit I love a lot of new metal stuff. I just love fight riffs and bounce riffs and anything that gets me fucking going monkey mode. That's the kind of
aye.
stuff that I'm into.
So I enjoy that within the context. I said I don't. I'm not a big slam person, and I don't particularly like beatdown either. Like as it's known now, but I like Shattered Realm, Bulldoze. I like old hardcore bands with heavy breakdowns. Uh, so aye, and I do like some new metal as well. I'm not going to bullshit about that. Fucking Alfie Coffin Mulch's fucking Shaking His Seed discussed right now. I fucking love the first like
Love
six
you,
Corn
Al, but come
albums.
on.
I
Corn's
love
class.
I love the first like six Corn albums. I don't even drop off after the second or whatever. Like fucking, I'm in for a long haul with that.
I do love Korn. That's a band that, as much as I don't like the Hydro and arenas in general, that's one of very few bands that I would pay the outrageous Hydro prices and be on my computer at fucking 6 a.m. to get tickets for is Korn.
Aye,
Absolutely. Get me, I'll get
aye,
my Adidas tracksuit. I
aye.
wanted to get one of those fucking like those purple Adidas tracksuits that they did, and they did the trainers with it. And then I'm looking at the price tag, and it's like $300, and that's not including shipping. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. I was so upset because I would rock that shit every fucking show.
Aye, aye, totally. I mean, like, it's just the stuff that I like was kicking about. Like, I didn't have a big new metal phase, to be honest with you. My first band was kind of a new metal band, but it wasn't supposed to be. It was just because we couldn't play, and that was the easiest thing to play, really. Uh, but I do like a lot of new. Like when I get into new metal, I also like thrash and hardcore. It wasn't like a new metal phase, if you get me. It's just like I also like this. This is also good music. It's not like a thing that is like a gateway, and then I'm embarrassed about it. Good tunes are good tunes. You know what I
Aye,
mean? So,
exactly. Like I'll
aye.
freely admit, and this is going to completely cancel me. I'll freely admit I like some Five Finger Death Punch. I'll freely admit. Yep, I'm
Too far.
cancelled. Yep,
Too
I know.
far.
I know.
Get
I'm
out.
so I'm
I'll be
sorry.
honest with
That's
you, I
it.
don't
I'm
think I've
out.
ever actually
Bye.
listened. I think I listened to them once and I was like, this is fucking garbage. But I bet you if I just
I mean,
stick with
most
it,
of it is. I'll freely
uh,
admit most of it is, right? Like, especially the newest stuff they've been doing, it sounds like ultra processed trash.
uh,
But I'll freely admit, Ivan Moody is a fucking class singer. He is. He's got the pipes. I just wish he didn't waste it on monster chugging idiot lyrics, you know? It's like,
well,
oh, I hate you. You hate me. Meh. It's like, go and do something cool. Like he was in Motogrator for a bit, and there was another band called Ghost or something. Not the Ghost that's like
Aye, aye.
spooky priest cunt, but I mean, again, I'll admit I like Ghost. I don't care. Good tunes are good tunes.
So
I don't
do you
care.
know Ghost? I never gave it time of day, but I went to download one year, and I like Soundgarden, and I was watching Soundgarden, and at one point I was into it. I was really, and then I was like, at some point they just got fucking boring. And I was like, I don't know. There's something about
It's
this
a
set
it's a
that's.
gimmick that wears thin. You see them in the
Aye.
big stupid costumes
So
and
sorry,
doing
hold
like
on. This is
weird
Soundgarden
dancey
I'm
rock.
talking about. So
Oh, sorry. Oh,
I was
sorry. I
watching
thought this was
Soundgarden.
Ghost. Aye.
No, and at some point they played just the songs that they chose, and I went, do you know what? I'm going to go to Wonder. And I went to Wonder and I walked into a tent where Ghosts were playing, and I'd heard of them, and I'd heard, who's under the hood? Is it Phil Anselmo? No, the first time Phil Anselmo wore a hood, probably if it was him. But it was all this speculation about like who's the members. Like, was it this time they were quite mysterious and all that? And
Aye.
then I watched them, and I was like, um, what was the song they were playing? I can't remember. She something. But I went in and I went, this is a good song, and this is a cool vibe. I'm into this. So I went back and I listened to the first record, and I did quite like it. I lost track of them after that, but that first Ghost record, it's not bad.
It's good stuff if you like your Black Sabbath, Blue Oyster Cult.
Oyster
It's
Cult,
basically
aye,
just that draped in like spooky Halloween outfits. They're
aye.
still good. They've kind of became a wee bit more cheesy, wee bit more poppy. Kind of like
Mm-hmm.
the Mamma Mia soundtrack if it was set at Halloween.
All right.
But
Well, do you
it's
know
still
what?
good.
Said it at Halloween, I'm in. Uh,
It's still good.
I'm not against novelty. I love the Misfits. I love Goa.
It's true. I do love Gua. I remember I was at the Gua show a couple of years ago where they played the Garage and Party Cannon were there, and
Hmm.
I remember I was right up front and Mike kicked the inflatable dolphin right into my face.
That's what you get
Great
for
show.
daring to go right up the front. Aye.
That's true, but that's where I go at gigs. Like I'm not traveling. I say all the way through Falkirk. It's an hour at most, but I'm not going all the way through there, paying fucking like to get into Glasgow and then getting a venue ticket and then arriving at the venue just to stand at the back and no see because every other cunt that's like 6'8" decided to go in front of me. I'm not doing that shit. I'm up the front. I'm up the front so I can tickle the fucking bassist kneecaps. You know.
No, I'm the same, but that's what you end up with a dolphin in the face.
That's true.
Maybe this is the new origin story, your new nickname. Maybe
That's true. The
from Sir
dolphin
Edward,
kicked off
Sir
all of my
Dolphin
hair.
Face.
Sir
There we
Dolphin
go.
face. That's what happened. The dolphin kicked off all my hair.
Aye, there
That
we go.
incident, it just ripped it
Aye,
all off. I could do that. That'd be funny. But no, unfortunately, it's just bad genetics. I did not get the good genetic lottery. I started thinning at like 19, 20, and I'm 27. But it was about 5 years ago that I decided, you know what? I'd rather not look like Vince Neil now. So, ready it. Because
respect.
that's what I would have done. It would have looked like Vince Neil does now. And it's like
Aye,
it's such a shame because people like Vince Neil and Axl Rose, they were such heartthrobs in like the 80s, and now they just look like a slight like your uncle who's slightly racist and posts some dodgy shit in Facebook. You know, that kind
aye,
of uncle. That's the kind of vibe I get off, and now they just sound terrible. Like the amount of live videos I've seen of fucking Vince Neil going, "Wah!" It's like,
aye.
no, it's retire. Just retire.
I've never seen them.
They had the audacity to put out an EP called Cancelled as well. Like, wow,
Fuck
we're
off.
really doing this. We're
Aye.
doing this. Why? You could live off the money you're getting from fucking Dr. Feelgood. Why? You don't need to.
Is there a reason that he feels? Is it just because Motley Crue feel like they can't take drugs and be misogynistic anymore, and he's like,
Think that has to be it,
what
right?
kind of
That
world are we
absolutely
living in?
exactly. What kind of world are we living in that we need to ask for consent?
Aye,
Imagine what a wild concept, you know?
aye.
Don't do crime. Crime's bad. That's we like to teach good morals in this show, but just crime's bad. And anything Motley Crue have done past like the 90s is terrible.
Probably true. I know a couple of the old songs and all that, and they're decent tunes. Aye, but Kickstart My Heart, no, aye, it's fine. It's fine.
Aye.
Uh, the fair points.
Just don't hear it live. Like now. Don't hear it live now. Because you see, it's like look at how they massacred my boy. You know that scene in like Godfather was just like, what have you done? That's what it's like. That's how I would feel if I wrote a class song in the 80s that was loved by everybody, and then I just didn't take care of myself and I couldn't sing for shit. And I'm going out here and I'm bastardizing it every night.
So
Awful.
it's making money the way. I mean, like
I mean, yeah,
sometimes I
have
think
to
about that.
respect the hustle, but sometimes you just need to learn to just sit down,
Aye.
you know?
Sometimes I think when is like when at what point do you like? Because I fucking love being in bands and shouting in bands and going to gigs and seeing my pals and all that kind of thing. But at what point are you like, maybe I shouldn't shout in bands anymore? Maybe it's not going to sound the same as it used to. What time? At what point should I be like pack this in? And I think I'll probably just keep doing it as long as people let me and keep
Yeah.
encouraging it. To be honest with you, so I can't, I would probably be Vince Neil if I was in his shoes. To be honest, less the womanizing and drugs and all that. But aye, so I can't criticize too harshly. I'd probably be the exact same if people were enabling me. I'd be like, aye, fuck it.
I'd like to think you would take a wee bit better care of yourself than he's done, because he's not exactly been the most forefront of like taking care of your voice, taking care of your body, because nobody wants to see this like shrubby old fat bastard jumping about on stage. It's
All right. In that
nobody
case,
wants to see your man boobs, you know.
don't come to see uh, No Known Weakness on November 14th. Don't come see Lesser Beings November 15th. Don't come see Hardstyle
It's
December
fine, just wear
14th.
a shirt, you'll be fine. You just don't take your top off. You should be fine. To be fair, I have that same problem because I do love me some Taco Bell, but I'm
No,
slowly working on losing weight.
uh, okay, I'm going to go on a tangent here about Taco Bell. So they had a plant-based thing. I don't eat meat. They had a plant-based thing and it was fucking banging, man. And then they just stopped it. And like for months, if you went on Taco Bell's social media, it was people in the comments saying, "Why the fuck did you stop this? Bring it back, bring it back." But with no explanation and no fucking no apology, it just disappeared one day.
Just disappeared.
Aye.
Yeah,
But
respect. Yeah,
it's
probably
probably helping me
somebody
lose.
fucking yeah,
Probably
somebody
help me
got
lose
up in
weight.
hand.
Aye.
Yeah,
If that was still about, I'd probably be fucking eating Taco Bell every weekend. So it's probably for the best.
I just wish Taco Bell delivered near me because the nearest one's in Cumbernauld and they're not going to deliver it Falkirk. Let's be real here. My food would be stone cold. Hey.
All right, is that a pun based on the?
Had to do that. We've
Aye,
this entire podcast is a living pun, so if I
aye,
can make puns, I will make puns because we do love a bit of wordplay. I wonder how much of a legible hardcore song you could write with the lyrics just being puns. That's the challenge right there.
I'm sure somebody's gave it a go at some point.
Somebody has to do it. That needs to
Aye,
be I can't fucking speak. That needs to be the goal for either because I think Hardstare could get away with it because
I
they've
think
got
I'll
that
stick
kind
to
of
get away with it.
goofy
Aye,
personality to them where they don't really take themselves too seriously. Because you see some bands that are like, "Look at me, we're big hard men," and it's like,
aye,
yeah, no, you're not. You're shouting on the stage, pal. Shut up. You're no hard. I mean, yeah, but you're no hard. But
aye,
I lean more towards those bands that can have a joke, have a laugh. Party Cannon, prime example, will forever show for Party Cannon on this show. Municipal Waste, Fatal Collision, all those bands, they're nailing it in terms of like the social media and the memes and stuff like that. Like Party Cannon have like one of those like private group things on Instagram, and it's literally
all right.
just memes. It's great.
Oh, really?
It's
Aye,
just memes.
aye,
It's as dumb as you imagine. Gamma Bomb have one as well that they've just no long started, and I'm sure that's going to be filled with memes.
aye.
So that's the secret. Just
I don't
fill your
touch.
posts with memes.
Aye, like so. That's good that everybody's having fun. But I hate a group chat. Hate a group chat. You get too many of them and they end up filled up with bullshit. And group chats are where you kind of realise that, oh, these people that I thought were sound that I see at gigs, oh, they're talking a lot of shit in here, and they're saying a lot of stuff that I really don't agree with. I know too much about them now, and now I don't like them. So I
You know
that
too
that kind
much, you
of
need to die now.
that kind of stuff drives me nuts. To be honest, it's too much noise on my phone and all that.
Aye.
But I do like a good meme. Aye, in the right context. I need to find it myself. Don't bombard me with memes.
Oh well, there you go. You're gonna block me immediately because that's basically the only thing that I ever share outside of podcast stuff and stuff I listen to. I don't really do a lot outside of go to gigs. I might occasionally post a meme or something. I don't know, but again, good memes are ones that are organic, which is why I despise the whole fucking Hawk Tour thing.
Aye, I mean, aye, I,
She's got a fucking podcast now called
I
Talk
know.
Tour.
So that's totally inorganic. Then I suppose there is. I fucking can't believe I'm talking about memes here. But I like. But originally it was quite organic. It was just this lassie that was just saying something that people found funny, I suppose. Uh,
I mean,
I
kind
don't
of
know.
respect to capitalize on it.
I, I, but.
At the same time, it's
But
like the
you
joke's
feel like
dead.
there's like if I felt like she was capitalizing on it by herself, I'd be like, "Aye, cool, get that bag." But it's a bit like you feel like there's management in her ear. It's all
There will be
it
now,
feels like
especially.
she actually doesn't really know or care what's happening here. People are telling her to go do this and say this, and like it just feels a bit. It's
It
not very
kind of
punk, is
does,
it?
yeah. I've not actually sat down and listened to the podcast. I should do that before, casting judgment.
Maybe it's
Let
amazing.
he who is
Aye.
without sin, etc., etc. You know that old saying. But I messaged for a laugh. I messaged that talk to a page for a laugh. Like, yo, have me on just as a laugh. They've not touched it. Of course they haven't. Of course they fucking haven't.
Supposes
Why the fuck
they're
would
not
they?
willing to connect with the scene.
Get exactly. We need to get this random fucking Alabama girl in contact with the fucking Scottish hardcore and metal scene. They
Do you know what?
fucking
You've got me curious
fight.
now because I'd really like to know how she interviews people. Like, do you know what? If she's just good at interviewing people, then fair play. Why not give her a
I
show? I
suppose
suppose.
so, yeah.
But it just seems.
I need to sit down and actually expose myself to it. I say that like I'm about to climb into the fucking fields of Chernobyl or some shit where I'll walk out with a third arm or something, or
Aye.
just have my brain rotted, which is probably more likely. And the latest episode that I've actually just put up about a couple hours ago, that very quickly descended into brain rot.
Oh, really?
It very quickly
Who was
descended
that?
into brain rot. So it was with Aidan and Brandon of Doppelganger,
Okay.
a young
Aye, aye.
Glasgow thrash band
Very
who are
familiar. Aye.
very
Class.
good,
Aye.
very good, and it descended very quickly. And I decided to try out something new, which me being an idiot, I didn't actually prepare this time, but I will for next time, where I had a wee bit of trivia questions
Right.
themed around the genre that they play in, which is, kind of thrash. So I
Mm-hmm.
had 10 questions and they ended up tying 3-3. And then I think it was Aiden that won by like 1 point, which I didn't have time to do that this time because the day that you'll be seeing this will go up probably on like Monday, Sunday, Monday, just to try and kind of stop it from being here's a bunch of episodes in a week, then there's nothing for a month.
Yep.
Because the algorithm hates that. We got to
Okay.
feed the machine and all that jazz. But
Mm-hmm.
I will for next time hopefully have the next episode of what I've kind of titled Untitled Trivia Nonsense section of the podcast. But um,
Cool. Would have been hard to pin my three bands down to one genre for the trivia anyway. So,
it probably, if
uh,
I had had time, it probably would have been kind of maybe a wee bit of thrash, maybe a wee bit of hardcore,
aye.
probably leaning those two because it does sit within that kind of camp, but they touch on so many aspects of it. Again, you've got the
Aye.
kind of early thrash, the kind of straddling the line between like death metal, thrash metal with some of the heavier riffs. You've got kind of the big hard breakdowns that you would see in kind of beatdown and stuff without turning into complete cringy cheese that a lot of beatdown can turn into.
Aye. Aye.
Especially a lot of the kind of European breakdown. Some of it can be funny, but after a while, I think the joke just gets a wee bit old. Which I
Aye.
still love all the kind of dumb European breakdowns, especially Germany, because that just seems to be a breeding ground for stuff like that.
Definitely.
Still love them, but it's kind of like cake. You love a cake, but you can't
You
eat
don't
too
want
much
too
in one
much.
sitting because
Aye.
then you're going to feel sick. At least I
Aye.
do. As much as I'd love to demolish an entire Victoria sponge right now, I don't think I could get away with it. But
Nah. But aye. Well, that's interesting. The descriptions there. Aye. And your when you when you compared Lesser Beings to Every Time I Die, see when you were trying to remember the name of the band, literally on the edge of my seat because like every time somebody compares us to something, it's completely different for
aye.
what somebody else has compared it to. And that's what I kind of like about that band. I think Hardstare, you can go, aye, it's crossover thrash, really. You can.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't think it
basically
sounds.
municipal
Aye.
waste.
Aye. I don't think it sounds exactly like Municipal Waste or Iron Reagan or anything like that, but it's in that lane. You know
It's
what I mean? It's
definitely in that
definitely.
lane. You can
Aye,
tell that
aye,
where the inspirations are.
aye.
Whereas with Lesser Beings, especially, it's definitely a big smorgasbord. It's a big charcuterie board of loads of things from metal, loads of things from hardcore, all just in a big stew, and it tastes delicious.
Aye. So that band started actually when I remember going for a walk during lockdown when that's all you
That's
could
the
really
only
do.
thing you could do, yeah.
I go for a walk and Derek, the guitarist, who now also plays guitar in Coffin Mulch, he sent a message just saying, "Oh, I'm going to start a hardcore band with." I don't even know. I just don't know if he had anybody else in the band at that point. It's just like I'm going to start a hardcore band. Do you want to do vocals in it? And he sent me some tunes, and I listened to tunes, and I went, "It's not really hardcore, but I like that." I like that it's not really hardcore. I can definitely hear because Derek is like me in that he likes a lot of different things, right? Uh, and I would probably say, even though I like a lot, I mean, I like a lot of different things, but I would probably say I'm more centered in hardcore, maybe. I suppose I'm more, whereas Derek is probably more centered in like sludge.
I
And
do
so
love
you
me
can
some sludge for sure.
I can definitely hear how, oh, this is hardcore filtered through a guy who loves Sludge's brain. And he played guitar in a band and still does play guitar in a band called Forever Machine, who are really slow, really long songs, class, like just big head nod, fucking big riffs. Um, and to him, when he talks about lesser beings, he's like, this needs to be really fast. This is really, really fast. Obviously, I play in hardstyle as well. I'm like, man, these songs are not fast. like these lesser being songs, they are fat. They've got fast bits, but in general, to me, compared to a grind band or a thrash band, it's no fast.
Aye,
But it, but it's interesting to me to get his perspective on this is him coming from that background, pushing the tempo up and pushing the sort of aggression up a bit, and then I came in and obviously my vocals just sound like hardcore vocals. I'm just shouting. It's all I really know how to do. And Fraser, who you will know is a drummer for Coffin Mulch probably, but
mhm.
actually bit more a punk background really, and I think you can hear that in his drumming. Uh,
Definitely.
and then Paul the bassist, he's really into like Converge and stuff like that. And I think all that stuff comes together and makes something that's like it's no really that's I like being in bands that you can't go. Why would I want to start a death metal band when Glasgow has so many fucking amazing death metal bands? Do you know what I mean? Like,
It's true, there
what?
are so many.
Aye. Why would I want to start a fucking like a like a a Northern Unrest style band when they already have five
Aye,
bands
they've
or
got so
whatever
many of them, yeah.
that are all class? Do you know what I mean? Like, although
It's
No No
finding
Weakness
that
is
gap
kind
in
of
the
in that
scene
lane.
as well.
Aye,
Yeah.
aye. No No Weakness kind of in that lane, but it's a wee bit more.
Kind of leans more metally than the hardcore type
Aye.
thing.
So,
Aye.
I suppose but I like to do things that
Are
nobody else
different. Aye.
is really do. It's not like fucking groundbreaking either, but it's just like let's
It's
bring stuff
different
that
for us because obviously every other scene on the planet will have had their fair share of hardcore bands, thrash, black metal, whatever.
totally.
Whereas definitely because this scene has only really started about probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I want to say is when this scene kind of started really erupting with all these new bands. You know, your Brain Bath, Penny Coffin, Coffin Mulch as well. Because
Death
obviously there
metal
were
scene,
bands before, yeah,
aye,
and you're seeing a lot of like I'm seeing a lot of thrash bands coming up. Like again, Doppelganger, prime example, Luxera. There's another one. Um, Tempered as well. They're just kind of getting their feet wet and kind of getting that recognition. Though I'm sure they've been kind of in their infancy for a wee while. And
aye,
it's just seeing where those gaps are, like what's not really being done right now. And that's
aye,
where definitely stuff like Lesser Beings and No Known Weakness, I think they're gonna fill in some wee gaps, kind of that straddled line
hopefully,
in between metal and hardcore. And I
aye,
know that a few friends of mine, they're starting a like a hardcore leaning slam band, like a lot of those kind of like Maggot Stomp level bands like in the
okay,
US
aye,
where you can
aye,
feel those kind of hardcore influences. There's hardcore breakdowns, there's hardcore fight riffs in amongst all the death metal stuff. A few friends of mine are in a band called Backbone, which are putting out
okay,
they're just recording their first EP, which is sounding fucking mint. They're putting out a new tune on Halloween. It's called Thousand Year Bender. It's gonna be fucking disgusting. Like even the production, if you go on their Instagram, they will hopefully have a wee preview up of it up at the moment. They sent me a wee preview the other day, and I was like, "Oh my lord, this
aye,
shit nasty!" And I'm like, "Hell yeah!" And I've even said to them, "Hey, get me in this. Get me doing some big nasty gutturals on there." And
nice,
so who
aye.
knows? You might
Do
end
you
up
do that?
seeing
Aye, have
me.
you ever been in a band?
I don't play in any at the moment. I have been in talks with some friends of mine. Like on one of the episodes, I interviewed Jake and Theo from Stipulated Torment, which is kind of a
Yep.
slam, brutal death metal, old school
I
death metal
met
band.
I met Jake at a show that Hardstyle played in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So he lovely, lovely guy. So he's the drummer in a band called Stipulated Torment, and we really became pally over the last month or so. We met up properly at the Party Cannon show, and after that Party Cannon show, we went around the corner and we were chatting about like putting out new music, and we all love stupid samples and memes and stuff like that. So literally, we were in the middle of like just after Central Station, and I was talking about, I'll properly record me saying silly things.
Mhm.
But then Jake just pulls out his phone and is just like, do it right now. So we came up with just me going, "Yay, lung cancer!"
All
Just
right.
just randomly, just stuff
Aye,
like
aye.
that that's really offensive and just funny because we have that
I
same
mean,
kind
but
of
it's not
goblin
really
sense of humor.
offensive to be fair. It's a wee bit like I mean,
It's kind of immature, kind of
aye,
like shit
but it's
posting
good,
YouTube
which is
type
good. I'm
stuff.
saying, it's okay to talk
I
about
know,
lung
yeah,
cancer. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
That's fine.
There's worse
But
things, but
aye,
we
so
have
to,
that
aye,
kind
I
of
don't, I
weird
don't
sort of.
want you, I don't want you to paint yourself a picture of yourself here as this bad person.
No,
That's
no.
not
I'd like to
offensive.
think
That
I'm not a bad
I
person,
don't
but
think you come across that bad now.
well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I definitely try not to be. I'm just a guy that likes heavy music, and that's why I really started this. And I had like the intro that I have in my head for a while because I like Count Dankula, and when he starts to
Oh
sponsor,
no,
listen,
no, oh,
I
no,
know, I
no,
know,
no,
yep,
no,
cancel.
no.
Listen,
Cancel. We're out of here. See you
yep, we're
later.
out. Right, see you, bye. It's no the
His
like
dog's
obviously all the
cute and all that, but fucking.
he has got a cute dog. But
Uh,
I like Absolute Mad Lads, right? Because a lot of it's really interesting. But I don't really care about any of the political aspect. I'm not really a political person. I just want to be a good person.
mhm.
That's all I fucking care about.
I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of that Count Dankula guy. I just remember at the time when his thing when the thing blew up, I
Oh,
was
aye,
like
yeah,
when the video blew up, he had his dogs Seek Island or whatever, right? Which is
aye,
daft, right? But like you go, you know what? People sometimes do daft things and don't realise that what they're putting on the internet is like going out to a big audience, maybe potentially.
definitely.
So
It
I
will
and
spread somehow.
so you don't want to be like a person is the entire sum of a person is this one fucking misinformed stupid thing that they've done, right?
Aye,
So I was actually at the time like that was pretty daft, but doesn't mean he's necessarily a horrible, horrible
no,
person. But then he
definitely not.
started aligning himself with Tommy Robinson and I went, oh no, wait a minute, this guy's a fucking horrible person.
Yeah,
But
but I
aye,
never really
so
cared about any of that stuff. But the way that the intro came about with what I say, is when he would do his ad segments and he would go, "It is in fact your boy, Raid Shadow Legends." And I just thought
right.
that was funny. So that's where I came up with, "It is in fact your boy, Sir Egward." And I had that in my head kind of floating about for a while, and I was thinking I should do something with it. So then it was my birthday in May, and I asked for money because I don't like getting gifts. Just give me money if you're going to give me anything.
Aye, aye, aye.
And I thought, I want to do more. So I thought, what do I need for a podcast? I need a computer, I need a camera, I need a microphone. So then I just thought, fuck it, let's do it. And then I reached out to a bunch of people, and Luke from Penny Coffin and Desecrated Extinction, he was one of the first people that was like, aye, I'm up for it. And it
Cool.
just snowballed for there. And
Good guy.
that's nearly
Aye.
6 months and 28 episodes.
No, it's cool. I actually was gonna during lockdown. I was one of the fucking 6 billion people in my city who were like, I might start a podcast.
Yeah.
And I similarly was going to start a podcast about like Scottish metal and hardcore and stuff like that. The concept that I had was, and Chris Ryan was actually going to be my first guest. He did send me some answers, but we never get around to doing it. Imagine me and Chris Ryan on the same fucking podcast, man.
I'd
Like
listen to it, it would be great.
two Furbies just fucking talking nonsense back and forth. But the concept was, uh, give me your three favourite songs by Scottish, like heavy Scottish bands. And I'm trying to remember who he picked. But it's from out of my head. What's the name of the band? They've got kind of daft name, like a power violence type band. Party violence is what the genre that they called themselves, and I was
Party
always meant to
violence, love
ask
that.
him, like, is that where Party Slam comes from? It's Harold Shipman. Harold Shipman was the name of the band. Was one of the songs. Cerebral Ball was another one. I can't remember what they are, but that was his thing that he was going to do in that first episode. But it never came about just because
Ah,
I
life
just don't
happens. And
I
plus
just
it
don't
was
feel like
COVID.
people want to hear me talk either, to be honest with you. But the but I think it's cool that you have done this, because I like sort of living in the moment of a music scene.
Hmm.
and being like, this is, it's like, get the word out about things and talk about things and talk about other bands, and everybody in my bands is in other bands. I'm very connected to the whole scene, and I think that that's, I go to everything. I go to every show you can go to, and I get to know everybody, and I love being a part of that. And it's cool that somebody's documenting that in a way, and also I suppose in, like, you'd be surprised, like, what comes up in 10, 15 years when people are like, oh, remember that band Party Cannon? What were they all about? And somebody go, oh, I can listen to this podcast that this guy was at that time,
Aye,
or they played with whatever. It's just, I'll, I am more into what's happening just now, but also quite into the history of your scene. Do you know what I mean? So
definitely.
this podcast does a bit of both of that. So that's cool that somebody's doing it. So big up yourself, Sir Egward.
Thank you very much, my man. Thank you very, very much. And long may it continue as long as people want it, as long as people want to shamelessly plug their shit. I will happily give them a platform to do it because I truly think that everything that's been happening, especially since 2022, is when I first kind of caught wind of the local scene because I went to see this like epic heavy metal band called Eternal Champion, who
Yep,
they were supposed to come over for a festival, but then the
yep.
festival fell through. They're like, well, fuck, what do we do? So they planned a bunch of like headline shows around the UK, and they played in Audio in Glasgow, and the support was Brain
Brain
Bath,
Bath. Great
and
show.
it was a great show. It was a lot of
Aye.
fun. And a really sick lineup. I love the fact that it was so different. And that's something that I'm starting to see a lot more of now, which is really good because 4 or 5 of the same thing, it gets tiring. It's
Aye.
good, don't get me wrong, but you need to give your ears the break and hear something different.
Aye.
So
So
stuff, let's have an epic heavy metal band playing with a death metal band. Let's have a thrash band play with a black metal band. Stuff like that. More of that.
that's
That's what I want.
that's what I'm all about. Have you ever been to the Grindhound Day shows that me and Chris put on?
I haven't. I wanted to go, but then just work was a pain in the ass. But
No,
I
listen,
will
it
hopefully
happens.
make it out.
You're a poser, it's fine. Eh,
I know.
nah, but no, I know what happens. But like everybody who goes generally, like I am always amazed by how much a good time that everybody has because the lineups are always purposefully uh, varied. You know, it's never.
Here's 5 death metal bands.
Aye.
Here's
So
five
I
thrash
will
bands,
go
or whatever.
like,
Yeah.
here's two death. I'll go. I'm maybe like, here's two hardcore bands, like metallic hardcore bands that you can mosh to. So if you like that, you can come. But also here's Rancid Cadaver, and they have bits that if you like to mosh to heavy bits, you can do that. And then from Rancid Cadaver, if you like that metal stuff, here's here's Tempered, you know, like a thrash band. And then for that, like maybe like that all sounds no that varied, but we do have quite varied. Like, you know, there's a
It
through
is.
line through it that we've had crust punk bands and we've had emo bands and we've had a guy who like does like sort of jazz covers of metal songs, and we've had power violence, and we've had death metal, thrash metal, hardcore, and it's always like always good. You know what I mean? Like I say, me and Chris as well, we're into everything. We go to all the shows, we know all the bands really. Do you know what I mean? So we know what's good, and you might not even know what's good, but if you come to one of our shows, you might not know that you like this, but you probably see it and you go, actually, that's pretty good. Like it's all bands who are objectively good at what they do, and when it's in front of you, you might be like, oh, I usually wouldn't go see Weekend Joy, but actually, or right in front of me, I can't deny that this is a fucking buzz. Do you know what I mean? So it's always that kind of thing, and we're hoping to put on another Grindhound Day before the end of the year, but it's proven to be a bit of a pain in the arse, to be honest with you, because the lineups. We had a lineup and then a band pulled out, and then we got another band and then they pulled out, and it's just and then there's something else happening on the date now, but I don't think it'll clash that much. So, but we're maybe thinking maybe just sack it and move it to another date, or early next year. But if it does happen, you need to come to this one because the vibe is good, and it's all for a
It's for
Greyhound
Dugs,
dog.
exactly.
Exactly.
It's for Dugs. You can kick somebody in the face and feel good that it's for charity.
100%.
See,
That's going on the next
guilt,
poster.
guilt-free kicking your pal in the face for charity because it's for Dugs, and that's something everybody can get behind. Is Dugs. I love my dogs. I really do. I would die for my dogs, hands down.
I would die for your dogs. I've never even met them.
I have two miniature. I was talking to Lev before we started this. I have two miniature Jack Russells. One is called Winnie. She will be 3 at the start of next year. And I have Scout, who just recently turned 1, and they are both fucking gremlins. They are
Aye,
both wee stupid gremlins. They're not smart, but fuck me, they're cute. They're
aye.
really cute and I love them to bits. And I would die for my dogs. So definitely, whenever the next Grindhound Day show comes up, I will absolutely do my best to make it there. If not, I will plug the fuck out of it and spam it with
Appreciated.
pictures of my dogs. Spam it with
Aye,
pictures of my dogs. This
good.
is what the proceeds are going to. Help these dogs. Not
Aye,
these specific dogs, but just
aye, aye,
dogs
aye,
in general.
aye,
These
aye.
dogs have enough fucking food. We just got a Tesco delivery in there, and there is so many fucking shoes, it's nuts. Because they're
Spoiled.
just wee fiends. They really are
Aye.
spoiled wee madams, honest to God. But I love them to bits.
We've
But
got a Bichon Frise, and she's had all her teeth except 3 removed. So she's like 12 years old. She's getting on a bit. So her tongue hangs out, which is cute and all that. But it means that she can't quite devour the treats the way that she used to. The hard treats, she kind of need to boil
aye,
things in hot water and all that.
aye. But we still love them, and for the 15 or so years that they're in your life, they really do enrich it, don't they?
Yeah,
That's
so
the thing.
much. Aye,
Every metalhead, every hardcore kid, every whatever, you love your cute animals. Let's be real here.
definitely.
That's the two
Aye.
things that metalheads and hardcore punk heads they'll never admit to, but you know it to be true, is that they love cute animals and they love one or two cheesy pop songs.
Aye.
You know
At
they love them.
minimum, minimum.
Minimum is at
Aye,
least one or two, right? There's always
aye.
that like one or two cheesy pop songs. Like I'll freely admit, one of
Clicking
mine is.
banners.
I mean, I only know I don't listen to a lot of it, but where
So
I work,
what's
they're
yours,
const
sorry?
mine. Two of mine are pretty much anything by Phil Collins, especially stuff like Paradise, Another Day in Paradise by Phil
Aye, aye, aye.
Collins, and Oops, I Did It Again by Britney Spears. I'll
Okay,
freely
right.
admit.
I was going to say Phil Collins isn't really cheesy pop, but I'm not letting you do that. Britney Spears is. Aye, that's 100%. I mean, I've seen the Backstreet Boys. The
Oh yeah, and
and
Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet
How
Boys is
forget them?
supported by All Saints. I went with my now wife, but banger tunes are banger tunes, man. Like,
Exactly.
aye,
That's the key takeaway from this podcast is just banger tunes, and gatekeeping is fucking cringe.
100%. Aye, like, fucking, why would you ever just want to? I don't know. There's a lot of people in metal in particular who are very negative about things they don't like and love to go on about things they don't like, and it's such a fucking boring energy, man. I don't want to
It
hear about
is.
things that you don't like. I want to hear about the things that you do like. Do you know what I mean? Like the
And
things
then I'll
that,
make fun of you.
aye, because the stuff that you like, somebody else thinks is shite, and
Aye.
imagine somebody else just sitting fucking ragging on the stuff that you like non-stop. How boring is that? Like,
Oh, I would be draining. It would be fucking
aye, aye.
terrible.
So
Like I've
like,
said multiple times in this podcast, like I did just admit to liking new metal. I also like shit like power metal. I'll freely admit that. Is it full of cheese? Yes. But this was how I got into like metal as a whole. It was a mix between power metal and new metal. Because my first show ever was meant to be Motorhead Saxon and Girl School. That
all
was
right,
meant to be my
okay,
first
aye,
show in general ever. I got the
aye,
tickets for Christmas 2015. We all know what happened after Christmas 2015.
aye, aye.
So that was meant to be the first show. My first show actually ended up being Ailstorm and Sabaton at the Barras, which you'll never see Sabaton in the Barras again. They are full on an arena
I'll
band
never
now.
see Sabaton if I can help it in my life.
I mean,
I'm not
true.
being that guy. I'm not being that guy. If you like it, that's cool, man. I mean, like I say, I like it. It's cool, man. Like, if you like Sabaton, that's totally fine, man. It's no for me. I'm a big it's no for me guy. Do you know what I mean? But if you like it, that's cool. Because
That's the more mature way of doing it. It's just it's not my bag, but cool. As long as it's making you happy, because as we all know, happiness on this planet is fucking fleeting. Let's be real here.
definitely, aye. I mean, I listen to a lot of pop, R&B, rap that, particularly for the 90s, for when I was young. It's just nostalgic, you know. You can't. I was talking about that, but earlier on I talked about Horse the band. I've never really cared for their music, but they made a documentary, an 8 hour long documentary called Earth Tour, I think, and it was about them booking their own DIY tour around the whole world. And this was like back in the MySpace days when it was a bit harder to book things and all that. So they did it all
All right.
themselves, which, as somebody who's in bands and stuff, was very interesting to watch, even though I don't care about the band. And by the end of that 8 hour documentary, I'd heard a couple of songs so many times. Like, it's really no my thing. But by the time I'd heard those songs so many times, I was like, do you know what? Decent wee tune. Decent. Like, if I hear it, I'll be banging my head. You know. So,
Respect, you know?
you can get into anything if you just don't close your mind. probably.
Exactly. Keep your mind
Aye.
open. You'll be surprised at what you like because nobody goes into metal immediately gunning for the heavy shit. You don't immediately gun for Pig Destroyer, Napalm Death, Infant Annihilator, and Al-Nathrak. You don't jump straight into that. You always
Unless
start
you're
off with your
trying
game.
really hard to be that guy, and
That's very true.
and then it's no genuine. You're just trying to be that guy. Do you know
You
what I mean?
just try to be a
And
hard man. Look at me. I like inhuman music. It's like, do you really though? Do you really? And that's something that I want to keep in this scene. Not saying that anybody's been disingenuous, but that's the thing that I think separates us because we are still such a young scene, is that everybody is genuine.
aye,
Everybody truly loves what they're doing, and
aye.
everybody is included. Like prime example, another guest I had was Karis and Luna from Mrs. Frighthouse, who are kind
Okay.
of a industrial kind of noise ambient
I've seen the
metal
name floating
duo.
about, but I don't think I know them.
Um, and it's like, their tunes are good. And I'd
Mm.
listen to it and I was like, yeah, it's not bad. It's not something I'd be like, oh, I want to listen to some pure dark industrial ambient today. But once I talked to them and they are just the nicest people, then I had a newfound respect for their tunes. It's like it's good. It's
Aye.
good.
I'll check it out. I don't sit in pure heavy rattle industrial, but I do like, I mean, I take it it's probably no like Godflesh, but I
No,
do
it's
like,
not super intense. It's more
aye,
to kind of paint a picture. It's more imagine a forest that's just filled with fog, like really creepy kind of thing. It's not so much like pure just beating you over the head, kind of like
aye, aye.
Godflesh or Combi Christ or something like that. It's definitely more kind of ambient, more kind of creepy, more vibey. The kind of thing that you would hear like if you were sat in a dark room, that
Aye,
kind of
no,
thing.
that sounds like the kind of thing I'd love to stick on and read a book with.
I would do that. I would definitely do that. Get a
Aye.
nice dark room, maybe a couple of wee lights, read a book, put that on in the background, and they are the loveliest people. So massive props to them. We'll forever shout them out. They are the loveliest people. But before we wrap everything up here, is there anything else that you particularly want to say, shamelessly plug, say that you've got in the works? Any final notes at all?
I don't think so. In terms of what we've got in the works, drums are recorded for at least two new hardstyle songs. I say at least because George also recorded three sort of improv thrash jams, and we might try and work, might try and work music around that. That's the most George thing ever. Like to write a song backwards, essentially, to just be like, "I fuck it, let's just try and approach it this way," which is cool. I mean, it's different, you know. So we've got two songs, which we've been playing live for a while, which are definitely 100% like they're going to be solid, and I actually really like. They're my two favorite songs in the set now, so I'm really looking forward to like finishing them and getting them out. No Known Weakness are recording soon. So I don't know if you know Malcolm for Heads on Pikes, and he just goes to a lot of shows. You might recognise him if you saw him. But he's going to be recording drums for us soon. Next week, I think we're going to sit in Dave the drummer's who no, we're going to sit in Alex. We're going to sit in somebody's house, and get the click track sorted, get the pace done for the tunes, and then a week after that, I think it is, we're going to go record drums with Malcolm. So that should be done and out within the next few months as well. Lesser Beings obviously just put stuff out, but Derek has already written, even before that stuff was out, he'd already had, I think, two other songs written, so I imagine we'll probably start jamming them soon, and they'll get added to the set whenever we finish them, and then there's no big rush to record them and get them out because we kind of just put that first EP out. But if you can keep it going, why not? So that's what's in the works, and then obviously those gigs that I plugged at the start.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Just a weekend a reminder of the gigs that are coming up, so that way, because I've already forgot about them because I'm terrible. So there is one at the you're playing with Born from Pain. That's on, I think it's you said the 5th, 14th of November, right?
So Born for Pain is on the 14th of November,
Mm-hmm.
and it's at the Hug and Pint.
Hug and Pint. Yep.
And the day after that is Lesser Beings. We're playing with Atomsk, and a boy called John Ramsey who has played in punk bands and stuff. Like he's into a lot of different stuff as well. He's a great guy and similar to me in a lot of ways. But his music is less heavy, so he has a lot of different things thrown in there, but it's not as heavy. But he's sort of a punk background, I'd say. Um, but he's playing that show as well, and that's free entry at Block. And then Thrash and a Half is December the 14th at Flying Duck. That's Hardstyle playing with all the bands you mentioned earlier on. That's the sort of thrashy show.
Man's busy, gonna be a
After
loads of
after
stuff
we
going
were
on.
like, oh, like it's shite when bands are all the same on a bill. Here's a whole night of thrash bands.
Yeah, here's a whole night. But the thing is, everybody does have that wee thing that's different, whether it be just lyrics or maybe something different musically. It's not cut and paste,
Nah,
which is good. And that's something that I really like and respect about a lot of the Scottish bands that are in the scene, is that there is something different about each of them. It's not just cut and paste. Here's Slayer worship, here's Autopsy worship, here's whatever. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing and has their own influences and are wearing them on their sleeve, which is something that I really admire. Especially with bands like Jaundice, prime example. At
aye.
16, 17, like 18, I wouldn't have had the confidence to play a show in front of one person, let alone in front of near 200, 300 people at Ivory Blacks as the
In their
first band
class.
on an all-day festival.
Aye. And
Honestly,
they absolutely smash it.
they did.
I totally respect. It's amazing to see, uh, as you said earlier on, Doppelganger, Jaundice, Gaslight, all these sort of younger bands coming up just now. Like I was completely oblivious to all these bands up until about I don't know if you remember that Riffs and Ramps show that happened in the
Yeah,
skate park,
yeah.
and then they were all just there at once, and I was like, oh, it's amazing how you can think that you're the guy who's so plugged into every scene, and this has been happening, and you're
Yeah,
completely oblivious, and then it was right in front of you, and you're like, oh, this is amazing. This is like the next generation of folk who are going to be, like playing shows and keeping the whole thing going. And they're like
absolutely.
a lot of these people are in different types of bands. Like there's doom bands and more hardcore leaning bands and death metal and thrash and like it's cool that they're all into different stuff and starting all these
There's a wee
different
bit of
bands.
everything, absolutely.
Aye,
And that's something that I can't wait to see go on as the years go by, is that we just get a wee bit more of everything. Like I know there's I think Cerberus and Troll are a couple of Doom related
that's the
bands,
bands I
and
was
then
thinking.
you've
Aye,
got bands like again Mrs. Frighthouse, which is that kind of ambient, kind of industrial type stuff. Got plenty of thrash, plenty of hardcore, plenty of grind if you like your stuff filled with blast beats and people just going ah. And then you've got some groovy stuff, like again, some friends of mine are working in like a slammy kind of hardcore project called Backbone. So there's loads of stuff coming out, and I just hope that everybody just keeps going and don't just
same.
let this be a phase. It's not a phase, Mom. You need to prove that it's not a phase and keep this going as long as you can. And I will be here to document as much of it as I possibly can
Good
because
guy.
it's fucking class.
Aye,
Anyway, just to wrap things up here, thank you everybody so much for watching. If you like what you hear, like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. Let's shoot for 1 million subs for the end of the year. It's not going to fucking happen, not by any stretch of the imagination, but I would piss myself if it did. But just keep sharing it if you like it. Introduce it to people that like music in general, not just like Scottish and UK stuff. But yeah, check out everything that this man's doing down below. I'll have his Instagram link down below. I'll have all the socials and band camps for lesser beings, Hardstare, no known weakness. Loads of stuff coming out, loads of stuff's happening, and I'm fucking living for it. So thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.